Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to this pre-match analysis for the upcoming semi-final between Djokovic and Alcaraz. Now we know that both players are playing well, but Alcaraz looks better in terms of his performances. And you saw the match against Tsitsipas. It was absolutely tremendous performance from Alcaraz on both wings, forehand, backhand, the movement on court, the ability to play a great drop shot, the good kick serve. So everything was working, and Tsitsipas had just no answers how to play against Djokovic. Although people say that it's not a good matchup, and whenever these two guys play, Alcaraz always performs better. But still, I think yesterday's performance was one of the best that Alcaraz has ever given in any of the matches. So let's see the head-to-head between Djokovic and Alcaraz. So they have played only once against each other, and that was last year in Madrid on clay. And it was, as expected, a very close match with Alcaraz finally winning the match in the third set. You can see there is only a 2 point difference in the tiebreak. So, and that match actually gives you a lot of insight on how these two players come up against each other, what are their strengths and weaknesses. And one thing I can say is that Alcaraz is not a sort of a player who will back down or whose win or loss depends on the opponent. He has control on his game. He has a lot of power on both his shots. He has a good serve. He is young, so he moves really well. I would say even better than Djokovic on clay, because we have seen Djokovic struggle with his movement, with his balance on clay specifically. But Alcaraz for me is almost running the best as one can ever do on a clay court. So again, all those things are in favor of Alcaraz, and it's just about whether he can do it consistently over 5 sets. That is the big question. He has done that in the past, but not against these big guys, specifically on clay. He has played well against Nadal. He has beaten Nadal in 3 set matches. He has played well against Djokovic also. So he knows how to beat these guys. But just the occasion of a semi-final on the clay court, a 5 setter, that might be the only thing that I think would cause an issue with Alcaraz. Other than that, I think he's playing superb tennis. So let's talk about the current form. As I already mentioned, Alcaraz is in the best form of his career. Djokovic is also playing well, but if you have seen his previous match against Khachanov, you would know that he was struggling for the first couple of sets. He was not able to keep the ball in the court, specifically from his backhand, and that is a big worrying sign for Djokovic because backhand is usually the go-to shot for him, and Alcaraz would be able to exploit that angle if Djokovic's backhand is not working. So he has to definitely bring his A game, Djokovic, if he has to win the match. And as I mentioned, because this is the first French Open semi-final for Alcaraz, and we saw that in the last match against Tsitsipas also, he was a bit nervous when trying to close the match. The crowd was also against him because the crowd wanted to see more action, see the match go the distance, and that is why they started supporting Tsitsipas. And it played a little bit of part in the match because then Alcaraz lost his serve and the match went to a tiebreak in the third set. And that is why I feel that if there is a lot of pressure, if it goes to 5 sets, probably I think Djokovic has that experience to get over the line in the match. And that is why I feel that Alcaraz has to start off well. He has to bring his A game. He has to be aggressive if he wants to win the match. And then probably also hope that at the same time Djokovic is not playing well. If both the players are playing well, still I think if it is going to be a 3 setter or a 4 setter, Alcaraz might be able to win the match. If it goes to 5 sets, I would back Djokovic. And as I mentioned, like it's a big occasion for Djokovic. He is looking to win his 23rd Grand Slam title. There is no Nadal in this year's French Open, so one would say that Djokovic is the favorite. But if you look at the performances, I think we can't count out Alcaraz. Now, talking about the strengths and weaknesses. So, as I mentioned, that Alcaraz has more power on both his forehands and backhands. And if he tries to play aggressive, I think he'll have a lot of chances to win points. And if he serves well, because he has a good kick serve. And if the match happens during daytime, then the court also provides a lot of kick to the ball. And it is very difficult for Djokovic to handle high bouncing balls of the forehand and of the backhand. We have seen that over the years, Nadal has given him all sorts of problems, because if the ball is not bouncing that much on a hard court, Djokovic is really able to handle all the shots, and because he moves well also, there is very little that any other player can do against Djokovic. But here on clay, specifically on a day match, the ball usually kicks very high, and because of that, Djokovic is not able to maintain his balance on some of the shots. Maybe he drops a few short balls, and because the power that Alcaraz has, it will be easier for him to control the points from then on. And also, he is a good player at the net. He has great touch, so he could go for a drop shot. If Djokovic is too far behind the baseline, he could also come to the net and hit a volley. So he has almost every weapon that is required to beat Djokovic. So, and we saw in the match last year against Djokovic, Alcaraz used a lot of drop shots, and he was most of the times he was successful. So that is one play that he would definitely try to bring in, and Djokovic has to be careful against that, because if he's back behind the baseline, Alcaraz's drop shot is really good, and Djokovic will struggle to chase down. And it is very frequent. So Alcaraz uses that shot very often, and it is quite deceptive because he can change the grip very easily. So Djokovic has to look out for that. And as I mentioned, that Djokovic has some issues moving on this court. We saw that in his earlier matches also, that sometimes he struggles to maintain the balance, and he doesn't look that he feels that much comfortable moving on clay as compared to Australian Open or other hard courts. Even on grass, he looks better in terms of movement. So we'll have to see how he manages that. But although, like, we can never count out Djokovic, the way he was playing for the first couple of sets in the last match, I really thought, like, Hachanov had a great chance to win the match. But then, whenever you think like that, Djokovic comes back very quickly, and suddenly all his shots started working. He was moving well, he was hitting well, he was serving well. Everything starts to come into the picture, right? So it's very important for Djokovic to play well when it really matters. He has done that all the way to this point, and he has to continue to do that. He'll have extra pressure, obviously, but again, he should come prepared for a tough battle. We have seen over the years that on big occasions, on big matches, Djokovic definitely brings his A game. And if you saw the Wimbledon last year, Kyrgios was playing such a good match. He was playing good tennis, serving well, but still few minor errors here and there, and Djokovic was up to the mark and up to the task to win that match. So similarly, if he brings his A game and Alcaraz gives him one or two chances, Djokovic would be able to take advantage of that. And that is why I think that Alcaraz has to start off well and be aggressive all the time. So the key factors in tactics, I have covered most of them already. And I just want to mention one thing here, that Djokovic needs to avoid being too passive. Sometimes what he tries is he tries to just keep the ball in play. He waits for his opponent to miss. But unfortunately, I don't think Alcaraz is that sort of player who will miss that easily. That's the first thing. And secondly, Alcaraz has a lot of power in his ground strokes. So if Djokovic tries to play a rally ball, I don't think he's going to win a lot of points, because Alcaraz can dictate play. He can come to the net. He can finish the points with a drop shot. There are too many options available to him. And he's already the number one player, but I think he has a very, very bright future ahead of him. He is going to win multiple Grand Slams, just looking at his game, because it's an overall complete game, just like Djokovic. Obviously, Djokovic is way higher in terms of experience and the achievements, but as a future prospect, I would definitely say that Alcaraz has a lot of things to achieve in the future. Now, as I mentioned, that if you keep the ball too high for Alcaraz, that actually gives him time to set up. So what I've observed in the matches is that Alcaraz likes to set up before playing a shot and then hit with a lot of power, just like Wawrinka. So if you are playing aggressive, or if you do something to take time away from Alcaraz, or maybe vary the pace of the ball, or vary the trajectory of the ball, so not giving him too high bouncing balls, maybe giving him flat shots, or using the slice to good effect, that might actually cause some issues with him, because he likes to settle down, he likes to hit uh, very heavy balls, but at the same time he also likes the ball to come to him and he waits for it. So that is where I think Djokovic has to do something different. And that is where I think players like Federer or someone who takes the ball early could actually trouble Alcaraz, because he won't get that much time to settle down. And that even we saw yesterday against the match against Tsitsipas, even though Alcaraz was playing well and Tsitsipas didn't have too many chances. But if you see some of the shots where Tsitsipas was very aggressive, we could see that Alcaraz was struggling to, specifically on his forehand, he was struggling to control the ball if he was rushed into it. So that is what Djokovic should try to take the ball early, vary the pace, vary the trajectory, and then hope for the best. If he tries to keep the ball in the play, he tries to play solid tennis, I don't think that is going to work, because that will actually play into the hands of Alcaraz, who will be waiting on the baseline just to dictate play. All right. So this is just one of the example I just put up. And this is the position that Djokovic needs to avoid. So as you can see in this picture, Tsitsipas is way behind the baseline. He is covering mostly his backhand side, and Alcaraz has got the open court. Now, because of his power, now you would feel that against any other player, if even if you give this much margin, if Alcaraz hits his forehand down the line, still maybe Tsitsipas should be able to get to the ball and still continue the rally. But because of the power that Alcaraz has in his shots, he can really up the pace and hit it for a winner, even from that position. And it is really hard for any other opponent to defend against that. And it's not just defending. Alcaraz is not uh, hesitant to come to the net. If he hits a good shot, he will definitely come to the net and finish the volley, right? So it is very important for Djokovic to avoid this situation where he is too far behind the baseline and he gives an open court. So what that means is Djokovic has to use his backhand, keep it deep, or keep it at such an angle that it's not set up for an easy shot for Alcaraz. So that is one thing I wanted to point out. Now, talking about the prediction, I really feel that Alcaraz is playing his best tennis and Djokovic is not. If that continues, that is why my prediction, holds true if that happens. So I would predict that Alcaraz can win this match in 4 sets. As I mentioned, if it goes to five, Djokovic might be able to win this with his experience. But because of the recent performance that I have seen from Djokovic and from Alcaraz, although it's a new day, maybe Djokovic can bring his A game right away, and Alcaraz might, struggle. But let's see that. As of now, what I feel is Alcaraz has the better chance to win.